From CGTN headquarters in Beijing, this is The Hub with Wang Guan.
Hello and welcome to The Hub. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. This week, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz leads a high-level economic and trade delegation to China, accompanied by executives from around 30 leading German companies across key sectors, including automotive, chemicals, biopharmaceuticals, machinery manufacturing, and the circular economy. China remains one of Germany's most important economic partners, making this visit significant both economically and strategically. At a time of growing global uncertainty, the key question is how both sides can sustain their cooperation while navigating an increasingly complex international environment. So can Chancellor Merz's visit inject new momentum into China-Germany relations? And can the two countries expand practical cooperation while strengthening long-term stability? We have a panel of experts to discuss all these questions and more. In Chapel Hill, we have Klaus Larres, Professor of History and International Affairs at the University of North Carolina. In Shanghai, we have John Ross, Senior Fellow at Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China. In Beijing, we have Cui Hongjian, Director of Center for European Union and Regional Development Studies at Beijing Foreign Studies University. Director Cui, let me go to you first. What do you make of German Chancellor's visit to China? I mean, both in terms of frequency, which averages once a year now at least, and this particular visit, the timing of this particular visit.
Also, this visit by Chancellor Merz to China could be very significant one. But even it's a little bit late. But also we know that even it's not the first visit by the German Chancellor to Asia states. So I think it's out of, to some degree, it's out of normal understanding about the importance of the relations between China and Germany. No matter what happened in the past several years, I think that German politicians, especially the Chancellor Merz, should take some more importance about the relations with China. Because anyway, so far, still, China is the biggest trading partner with Germany. And also, both two sides have a very huge common interests, industry and some other trade, investment, anything. Especially now, as we know, this visit happened in the background of the very huge change in the frame of so-called bigger, major players' relations. As we know now, Germany suffered a lot from its from the situation when it faced some pressures from Washington or some other European capitals. So I think now it's time, anyway, for China and Germany to, as we know, reaffirm some very important starting point for the bilateral relations, and also to try to provide some more, positive and stable message to the not only European countries and also to the Western countries as a whole.
I mean, it is a forward-based relations, especially in terms of economic ties, trading relations exceeding 200 billion euros. Now, Professor Larres, what do you make of the timing of the visit, given what happened earlier this year? If you think about the Greenland bailout plan, which never materialized, a threat from Trump and the Trump administration, strained relations between major Western European allies and Washington, and of course, and then followed by Davos and Munich Security Conference, where there has been some heated exchanges of words and rhetoric, and now the German Chancellor in China.
Well, it is an important visit, and there are mostly two main reasons why Friedrich Merz is in China now. And the first reason, it is his inaugural visit. You know, as the new chancellor, he became chancellor in May of last year. He visits all the most important countries in the world. And so he is in China because he wants to say hello to the Chinese leadership. So it's a routine visit in that way. But secondly, of course, trading relations and economic relations between China and Germany are not as good as they should be. And Merz is concerned about that. Some analysts speak about a China shock. So Merz is in China to rebalance the economic relationship between China and Germany. For example, Germany now runs a trade deficit with China of over 90 billion euro. That is a lot, and that is 20 billion more than the year before. Also, the car industry, for example, is losing out. It is not selling as many cars in China as they used to. The German car exports have dropped by 1/3 last year and by 50% when you compare it to 2022. And of course, for an exporting country such as Germany, this is very disconcerting, and Merz wants to basically talk about that and see what can be done. And he hopes that the trading relationship between China and Germany can be rebalanced, and that is his main purpose why he is in China.
Now, I want to ask your colleague, also from Europe, John. Now, what do you make of this visit? How do you expect this visit by German Chancellor to reset China-Germany relations?
Well, I think the obvious context is the German economy is in serious trouble because it has lost its cheap energy supply in Russia. And generally the effect of the NATO expansion and creating the war in Ukraine has created very big problems for the German economy. So I think that the German economy has been led into something of a dead end. And therefore I think Merz is trying to find his way out of this. And the obvious thing, as China has just regained its position as Germany's biggest single country trading partner, of course the EU as a whole is bigger trading partner for Germany, but as a single country, and in particular China has overtaken the United States, he would like to try to find economic room for maneuver. This is very good. The problem he's got is that the United States doesn't really want countries to have good relationships with China, and therefore he's got to, on the one hand, balance up the interests of Germany, which require good relations with China, with the pressure that's been put on him by the United States. And I don't know which of these strategic choices he's exactly going to take. So far, Germany has subordinated itself to the United States, and that has not led into a very good economic situation for Germany. And it would be very rational to therefore rebalance the economic relations with China, but we'll have to see whether he's prepared to make that strategic decision or not. He's come to see, therefore, what is the room he's got for maneuver within this situation. That would be my estimate.
Right. We'll talk about China-German relations, but it's interesting you brought up a very important concept, that is diversification. That is important in terms of financial investment. I guess it's equally important in international relations and geopoliticking. Now, Professor Cui, how far do you think German leaders or European leaders such as Merz would go in terms of diversifying its strategic relations? Somewhat pivoting away from Washington, given the whimsical Trump policymaking, towards China, looking to the east for a steadier and more stable partner.
To some degree, I think it's understandable for some European countries, including Germany, to have some kind of strategy of diversification, because it's a kind of response to this recent years, tendencies in the name of anti-globalization and more geopolitical tensions and some other. As we know now, recent years, Germany and some other European countries, they try to find some, more potential market from India, from some other, Asia and Pacific countries. But undoubtedly, if we go back to the marketing economy, go back to the, marketing logic, China always the most, ideal choice or option for German business. So I think that yes, we can do something, but we should take a very, very right and sustainable direction.
John, talking about being squeezed by both Washington and Beijing, that is, the position of some European leaders, how some Europeans feel about reality. Do you look at that way? Do you see this as the mainstay, felt by some European parliamentarians and policymakers, and will this trend be here to stay?
Trump's proposing not many immediate things against China, but he's proposing a whole different economic strategy, which directly affects Germany very much. I mean, basically, he's trying to go back to fossil fuels. I mean, the rest of the world is making a transition to green energy, and Germany previously was very much in the lead in this, particularly in Europe, and therefore it got a similar, what you might call a similar strategy with China, which is basically to move away from fossil fuels for polluting reasons, and now also for economic reasons, because green energy is now cheaper for electricity generation, for example, than fossil fuels, and to make this transition. But Trump wants to turn the clock in the opposite direction. So Germany is confronted both with security choices and whether it's going to go down the same energy path. It's not going to go down the green energy path because of China. It was going down the green energy path because it was in the interest of Germany and because it's against climate change. But it happens to coincide with the path which China is going down. So therefore, there's a very logical fit economically and strategically between what the strategy of China and the strategy of Germany. The problem is that the United States, for political reasons and economic energy reasons, doesn't want to go in that direction. So therefore, I'm sure that what Merz is trying to do is he's trying to work out how he can, if possible, balance these two things. But it's a different strategic choice. I mean, Trump has gone to the extent of even banning wind farms. For example, in the construction of wind farms in the United States, he's got a completely different strategy, which is that, completely contradictory to the strategy which Germany has been going on. So Merz has got to take a choice between these questions. I hope he'll be sensible, not merely for the reasons of climate change, but because for simple reasons of the difficult energy situation which Germany now is in, and go down the same strategic path as China. Not to be friendly with China, but just because it's in Germany's interests. That's what he's got to consider very carefully during this visit.
Professor Cui, green transition, advanced manufacturing, and technological innovation are priorities for both sides. Where is the greatest potential for practical China-Germany cooperation in these strategic sectors, in your opinion?
Sure. As we know, this to deal with this climate change issue and to cooperate in this green transition could be a very, very important area for cooperation between China and Germany. As we know, firstly, for both sides, still they try to insist this direction or policy priority to invest and or to support business to do something. Another, I think, important thing is for both two countries, they do have very, very good, basis to cooperate. As we know, not only for this idea and also for commitment, and also in industry or even some investment, both two countries has a long time cooperation. But of course, now I think the very, very big question now for both two countries to continue this cooperation in the green transition area is how could both two countries to convince, European countries or some other economies that this climate change issue and the green transition cooperation, not only just for the commitment, we should have the capability to transfer it into a capability of cooperation in industry. What happened for this EVs of China to Europe? I think it gives a very, very fresh case that China and Germany, not only we just cooperate with each other, and also we need to try to provide some more, persuasible cases to some other European countries that not only we just speak out something together, we should do something together. So once there are some more, cooperation in industry, if of course we already have some cooperation in Germany, in China for EVs and some other green economy, but I don't think it's enough already. We should continue this cooperation and we should expand the significance of this cooperation. When something happens that way, not only just for bilateral level, we can have a cooperation. Even we can, expand this cooperation to some other, any third market or third economy.
Now, John, let's look at some specifics of German Chancellor Merz's visit to China. The Chancellor is planning to visit a leading robotics firm in Hangzhou, China, that is a tech hub of China. This firm really highlights the focus on intelligent manufacturing. What does this signal about the future of China-Germany technological cooperation, in your opinion?
Well, the key thing about Germany is the most advanced manufacturing country in Europe. In fact, one of the most advanced in the world. China has taken a very important position on the question on the development of robots. And you now have you have the general automation of industry. You've got the famous dark factories in China in which you don't have any human beings operate. And robots is an extension of that. Well, this is an area in which Germany would like to maintain its manufacturing lead. The traditional situation between China and Germany was that Germany exported high-value machine tools and capital equipment to China, and China exports consumer goods to Germany. Now that's changed because of China's economic development. But again, we shouldn't exaggerate. China has overtaken in research and development percentage of GDP, which is the best indicator of the potential for innovation. It's overtaken 3 of the G7 countries. It's overtaken Canada, it's overtaken France, and it's overtaken Italy, but it's still behind Germany. That means Germany is still a very technologically advanced economy. So I'm sure that what Merz will be looking for is the potential for cooperation and also competition between the two countries. And having seen the robot development in China, this is very spectacular. Not merely, the things which catch the attention are things like them, performing on the Spring Festival show and doing acrobatics and things like that. But actually, in terms of production, the most impressive, of course, is the role of robots actually in production. And I'm sure Germany will be considering both how to compete and how to cooperate in this area. And it shows that Germany is not deindustrializing. Germany's perspective is still to maintain itself as the manufacturing core of Europe, and China is the biggest manufacturing power in the world. So Merz will be wanting to look at what are the synergies between the two.
Professor Larres, don't you think our speakers had a point when they said that China-Germany cooperation can set an example for other European countries to say that, look, if we get rid of the ideological part, China, Germany, and China, Europe can still cooperate on many fronts on, robotics, manufacturing, green technology, meeting our carbon neutrality and carbon peaking goals concurrently. Some concerns are legitimate if you think about capacity, but other concerns are purely ideological.
Well, I would agree that cooperation and engagement and good trading relationship between Germany and China is desirable and is promising for the future. But what Merz is concerned about is not an ideological component. He is concerned about that German trade relations with China are losing out, that the German industry is not exporting as much to China as in the past. And I think that is of serious concern to him. And that is what he means by rebuilding rebalancing the relationship. He feels, as I said at the beginning, that the car industry is not exporting as many cars to China as they used to. It has dropped by 50% compared to 2 years ago. And that, of course, has something to do with a lowering of living standards in Germany and a rising number of unemployment in Germany. For example, the car industry loses 10,000 jobs a month last year. And this, for any chancellor, for any politician, is very disconcerting. He feels that China is not making life for Germany all that easy. There is that overcapacity drive which he sees, that the Chinese are exporting more and more goods to the European market, squeezing European and German companies. Also, he feels that the currency, the Chinese currency, is undervalued by something like 18%. And that, of course, enables the Chinese government, Chinese companies to offer Chinese products on the European market kind of cheaply. And he will also, I'm sure, talk about the subsidies the Chinese government, the Chinese treasury is helping with Chinese companies. And all these issues can certainly be done away with. They should be talked about, and these hurdles do not need to exist. But I think at the moment the relationship is not really all that equal, and Merz feels that he needs to address that.
Well, Professor Cui, is it all China's fault if you think about Germany's trade deficit with China, and if you think about the necessity to rebalance, the so-called rebalancing Germany's trading relations with China?
For recent years, it becomes a very major concern from German politicians and also even business about this so-called overcapacity or the balance of trade between two countries. I think that's a value that why Chancellor Merz should come to Beijing as early as possible, because as I understand that once both two countries, both two leaders, they can have a chance to have this face-to-face talk. Certainly, it will be very helpful for German side to understand what will happen for Chinese policy, for Chinese, also we know the 15th five-year plan. How could China try to promote its domestic consumption? How could China to open its, economy to the world, as it happened for the past decades? But of course, I think that once we try to have some more rational understanding about the concern of overcapacity or rebalance of trade from our German friends, we can find out the other side of so-called overcapacity is reduction of consumption for the worldwide vision. So I think it could be a solution cooperated by China, Germany, and most of the European countries is how could we promote our consumption at firstly, and then how could we try to get some more cooperation, not only for trade exchange and also for the industry cooperation, because from China's perspective, once German side or European side could open its market, not only just for this traditional trade and also for some high-tech trade, certainly they will be very, very helpful for this concern from European side about so-called rebalance of trade.
Right. That is a multifaceted issue to rebalance the trading relations. John, what do you think can be done to rebalance Germany's trading relations with China? And how do you look at the allegations that China has been conducting unfair trading practices with European partners?
I'm afraid I think that Germany is self-inflicted wounds. It's not a question of China. It's a question of Germany. Germany has lost its supply of cheap energy, which was a key foundation stone of the German economy and its competitiveness. And as a result of which, therefore, the economy has serious problems. So these are self-inflicted wounds. The problem is not created by China. The problem is created by German economic policy. It needs to reverse its policy. It needs to be seeking good relations in Europe instead of the policy which has led to the big war in Europe through the expansion of NATO. It needs to get back its cheap energy supply, and then it would be able to participate very well with China in what is a common energy and other policy. So the problem is that if there is an attempt to claim that the problems of the German economy are due to China, this is just simply false, because China's a more marginal factor, its trade, than $90 billion compared to the situation of the self-inflicted wounds of the German economy. So what Merz really needs to do in order to be able to compete with China and cooperate with China is reverse German internal economic policy and pursuit of the very damaging policies which have been imposed on Germany by the United States. If he's not going to do that, then he's not going to be able to solve the problems which exist in the German economy. And just complaining about China is not going to help.
Well, Professor Cui, do you agree that China is oftentimes scapegoated for some of German or Europeans' internal problems?
Always China has been careful to any kind of concern from other countries, say that, okay, China is trying to, intervene domestic affairs, because China also, for its diplomatic, principles that China will not accept any intervention from outside. So, but of course, I think that now the question or some issues between China and Germany, it's is becoming a part of debates of the domestic politics in Germany. So, of course, I don't think it's an issue of China. It's not an issue of China-German relations. I think it's an issue of German domestic politics. Also, in recent years, I mean, this huge change and even some challenges from some other, non-traditional parties to the mainstream parties, to the establishment, to the established politics, give a very, very big challenge for this stability of policy. But of course, I think that once we try to find out some more positive force from bilateral relations to German politics, economy, and society, I think undoubtedly this frequent and sensory exchange between leaderships of two countries, and especially to stabilize this situation and to go back to a confidential situation with each other, I think could be very, very important. Mostly, I think China will play a more positive role for German economies, politics, and stability, not adverse one.
Charting a new course for China-Germany relations. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for jumping in and for your fantastic insights. And that will do it for this edition of The Hub on CGTN. Thank you so much for watching. Our programs continue on CGTN. Stay tuned and see you next time.